It's time for the classic, the Thousand Lakes, the Gravel Grand Prix. Going to the university town of Jyväskylä, it's time for round 9 of the 2025 WRC. Welcome to Secto Rally Finland. And we'll start off with the official entry list. 66 entries on this list, with 5 different classes represented. Not included on here are some drivers who are going to be doing the show stage. So, for example, Marcus Grönholm is going to be on the Harju show stage, and the same with Juha Kankkunen. Kankkunen's going to be driving a very special machine. It's going to be a hydrogen fuel cell powered Toyota GR Yaris Rally 2 car. The deputy team principal is going to be behind the wheel, much like we've seen team principal Jari-Matti Latvala on the previous couple of editions, though Latvala did do the full rally. Starting off with Rally 1, and we have a nice bumper list here in the Rally 1 class with 11 different cars. No Oliver Solberg this time, but we do have Oit Tanak, probably going to be the first one on the road, from Elfyn Evans, and then I think it's Seb Ogier, before Carlo Rofenpera, Thierry Neuville, Taka Katsuta, Adrian Formeau, Sami Pairi, Gregor Munster, Josh McAlean, and Martins Sesks. So 3 Fords will be doing the least of the road sweeping on the Friday, which is good for them. I know for these drivers, some of them have got heaps of experience. Ogier will be going for his 3rd Finland win, his 2nd in a row. He doesn't usually like the fast stuff, a bit kind of water rule. Elfyn Evans has also won there in the past, but I think have all the top 5 won it in the past? And Taka Katsuta, who is going to be going into this as his 2nd home rally. This is one of his better events. He's gotten podiums here before, and I think he actually lives in Jyväskylä now. So we could see Taka run well as well. Now on to the Rally 2 cars. Some of them are entered for WRC2, some of them are not. I will make the distinctions clear where they are not for this one. But leading off the list is the most recent WRC event winner and the championship leader in WRC2, Oliver Solberg, who is then ahead of Johan Russell. Then we have Gus Greensmith, who is not entered for WRC2 for this event. Gus Greensmith recently got married and his wife is Finnish, so he's run well here in the past. I think didn't he end up being called in for Finland in 2019? That was the start of his long run, filling in for an injured Elfyn Evans. Rupa Korhonen is next with the Toyota GR Yaris Rally 2 for the ERC Championship contender. Then we have Martin Prokop, who's used to a lot more of the rough and rugged rallies. Larry Una, Mika Heikkilä, and Leo Rossell, the brother of Johan Russell as well. Romain Jurgensen is the lead Fiesta, and I think the only Fiesta entered again. It's strange to see the Rally Star guy being the only person behind the wheel of a Fiesta Rally 2 car, but it happens more often than not now. Jan Czerny is going to be appearing. Nikolai Gryajan is going to be here, but he's not entered for WRC2 here, so he must just be doing the remaining rounds. Emil Lindholm is entered for WRC2, Pablo Sarrazin is as well, and the same for Robert Vervege, Sarah Ramo, Giovanni Trantin, Yuki Yamamoto, who I believe, yes, is the only Toyota Gazoo Racing WRT NG entrant here, because I think Hikaru Kaguri left the Toyota Gazoo Racing stable. Then we have Marco Polaccia. Oh, we do have a Jari-Matti Latvala here. Yes, we do. He is entered under JML WRT OY with Jani Hussi alongside. Right after him is Tuukka Kolpinen, Jorg Linnemar, Anssi Ritkanen, Tommi Jila, Uga Soyu, and I forgot to mention, Jila is behind the wheel of an original spec Fabia R5, Soilu with an RS Rally 2, Maurizio Cirani, and he's the last one entered for WRC2 honours, because Claudio Barenko and Andrea Piva, who are both behind the wheel of old Rally 2 Evos, are not entered for points in this event. The Rally 3 class is really 2 distinctly different classes, and that is the same on the entry list really. You got those who are just entered for WRC3 in one sort of stable, and then the other one has got the people who are entered for JWRC honours as well. We do even have Fiestas that aren't entered for JWRC here. So starting off with the WRC3 only, we have Arthur Pellemurg, Takumi Matsushita, Matteo Chatillon, Shotaro Goto, Josef Ralph Nagin, Tom Pelleray, Ville Vatanen, Levi Lassila, Ville Pinonen. Gregor Bonda is not going to be driving in JWRC, but is in a Fiesta Rally 3. Timo Weigert is behind the wheel of a Clio, and everyone I've named before Bonda is behind the wheel of a Clio. And then the last, before we get into WRC3, is John Coyne, entered by Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy, not entered for JWRC. Our JWRC entrants are led by Taylor Gill and Mila Johansson, then Ali Turkan, Karem Kazaz, Eamon Kelly, Diego Dominguez Jr., Thomas Martans, Max Smart, Claire Schönborn, and Atu Hakaleto, who is entered as Team Flying Finn. That is the AKK-backed entry, so the Finnish Sporting Authorities entry. Not entered for points here in WRC3, we have Matteo Fontana's Fiesta, and then Clios for Frederic Perrar and Sylvain Tamissier. Rounding out the entry list, we have 2 Rally 4s and a Rally 5. Interestingly, Jarkko Nakara, who was competing in the WRC and the PWRC and the Rally Star Pirelli program, 16 years ago against Hayden Paddon, is entered in a Toyota Gazoo Racing WRT NG Clio Rally 4. Then you have Kari Hitonen behind the wheel of a 208 R2, not a Rally 4, an R2. The final entry on the entry list is number 78, Jari Jaakkola, who is behind the wheel of a Clio Rally 5. And let's get into the stages now. Action kicks off at 9 o'clock on Thursday. We have 1 stage on Thursday evening before having 9 stages on Friday, 8 stages on Saturday, and only 2 on Sunday. But wait till we get to them because it is a big one. The Ruhimaki test serves as the shakedown for this year's event, as it did in last year's event, and in fact it is going to be the same route. We'll get onto the stage itself proper when we talk about Friday's action, but yeah, it's the same little bits and pieces around the karting area of the area, and yeah, it's just going to be a quick blast, 4.12 kilometers, a nice big jump at the end of it to test out that suspension. For the first stage, the Harju Street test, it is repeated on the Friday as well. Goes around the stadium, goes through the park. It is actually longer than last year's edition, and it is not in a lap form this year. So what will happen is that when they go through the park, they'll go a little further, and when they get all the way up towards a bus stop, which I think used to form part of the stage, they'll then turn around and go back down the old bits of stage, and then they'll end at the same spot that they did last year. So it's a new layout for Harju. It's the same finishing point, but some of these roads were last used with the old stage back in 2021. And yeah, it's the first time they're being used since then. But I don't think we have seen Harju run in this configuration before. So it'll be nice to see. It's something familiar, but also something, in some ways, new. Like I said, Friday is 9 stages, and those 9 stages are 2 loops of 4 with Harju put onto the end of it. Each loop opens up with Lauka, which, unsurprisingly, is unchanged from its appearance in last year's edition. There have been a couple of changes to this over the past few years, but it is historic Finland. These are stages that the drivers will probably know pretty well. And in fact, even this variation of it has been run pretty often as well. After that, we have the Sariekas test, 15.78 kilometers. It made its first appearance in Rally Finland last year. The stage itself has been reversed And then the start section is a bit further along the road, and the finish section is a little bit earlier. So there's going to be, what, about a kilometre new, 2 kilometres new for drivers this year, but those 2 kilometres they then lose off the end of the stage. Mihinpa will be the next test, 14.47 kilometres. This is a stage that made its return in 2023. It had been there in 15, 14, 2010 and 2009, but it is one that is classic Thousand Lakes, and its time on the Thousand Lakes Rally goes back to the year 1966. I believe it does have a chicane around the halfway point. I think this is a proper chicane, not one of the kind of virtual chicanes. Like I mentioned, Ruhimaki is going to be there as a stage as well as being there in the shakedown. The stage version is again unchanged from last year, which is perhaps unsurprising because it is very similar to the versions of Ruhimaki that we have had in the past as well. So, yeah, it's a familiar test for a lot of our drivers. Saturday opens up with the Parkola test, 15.51 kilometers, and for some of the drivers, if they've not been in national championships, this will be a new stage. The last time that it popped up in the WRC was as part of the Saloinen Moxie test, but even then that was about 3 kilometers of road, and that was in the other direction. Some of it has popped up as part of the Circuit test in the past as well, or the Moxie test. But the last time that you will have seen the Parkola test run in the way that we're talking about here is likely to be, 2004 or even 2003? So this will be one for the veterans. This will be one that you may expect to see someone like Gary-Matti Latvala be more familiar with, but obviously the road can change a little bit over the course of the past 20 years. After that, we'll head to the Vazdila test, 18.94 kilometers. And that is unchanged from last year, which is perhaps unsurprising because when it made its appearance before 2023, which was 2001 for Rally Finland, the only difference was it was run the other direction. So these, again, are more modern roads for our drivers, but they are ones that were also historic Rally Finland roads going back to the 1970 running of the Thousand Lakes. We then have the Pajala test, which is historic Rally Finland, 20.19 kilometers. You will have seen some of the backing footage of that test as part of this video because it is depicted in EA Sports WRC. And perhaps unsurprisingly, it hasn't changed. In fact, I think it has been mostly run the same direction in recent years. The only time that they changed it was that they planned to change it for 2020 and they did for 2021. So when the hybrids came in, it then flipped around and it's sort of stayed the same. The Lustu test will be the last one on Saturday's loops, 16.44 kilometers. If there are any delays, I'll be driving into the sunset. This test has not appeared in this form in the WRC for a while, I don't think. Some of it was used as part of the Horka test, which is back in 2016, or the Tuohikotanen test in 2018. And then a little bit was part of the Lustu test in 2019 as well, but only a little bit. I'm talking less than a kilometre. So for a lot of these drivers, it will be somewhat new. Those who have a bit more experience will be more familiar with the second half of the stage. But I'm just trying to figure out, using rally maps, when was the last time that this was used in full in the same way? I don't think it really was, unless you're looking at 2001, in which case it was as part of a longer 23 kilometer test, which was in the other direction. So, again, this is historic Thousand Lakes stuff. These roads were first used, according to rally maps, in 1968 as part of Stage 28 Kopiaho. But There'll be some bits of this that are new. They always find ways to innovate, the AKK, when it comes to organising this event, and this will be another way of doing it. Like I said, Sunday does only have one test, but it is a big one. It is over 20 kilometres in length. It'll be run twice. It is, 23.98. It's not the full 32.98 that it has been in the past, and it was last year when it returned to the WRC in its full length for the first time in, about 10 years? But it is basically the 2017 edition of Unemployer. Yeah, we've got to have the Yellow House jump as part of the power stage. It ends just after the Cacaristo hairpin, which is the one that you will be familiar with from things like Dirt Rally and Dirt Rally 2.0. So after that hairpin, they blast along for about 800 metres, and then the stage ends. Be quite nice. It'll be very picturesque. It'll be absolutely flat out. They do have chicanes. They have some chicanes just after the Yellow House jump as well, because they need to keep the speeds down just for safety reasons. But yeah, there's nothing quite like having an employer, and there's nothing quite like choosing to have it as the power stage. Is that going to be the longest power stage of the year? I'm not too sure. I know the ERC will definitely come close. If we want to talk about last year, we can talk about last year. It was a rally of attrition, by which I mean we already had 4 Rally1 hybrid cars in the points at the end of the event. Lots of them had to retire, lots of them had to super rally, and yeah, in the end, only 4 of them didn't have major issues. Seb Ogier won by 40 seconds over Thierry Neuville after both Carlo Rovanperä and Elfyn Evans crashed out in the penultimate stage. Adrian Fourmeau rounded out the podium, making it 3 different manufacturers in the top 3 places, whilst debutant Sami Päiväri ended up finishing 4th. He ended up picking up a stage win in Rally Finland as well, and that was although the fact that, the first or second proper forest stage he ripped the entire rear wing off of his Yaris. Still finished less than 2 minutes off of Ogier's winning time. The winner in WRC2 was Oliver Solberg over Jari-Matti Latvala by 40 seconds. Lauri Juna was third there from Mika Häkkilä and Nikolai Gryasin, with the top 10 being rounded out by 6th place in WRC2, Jörg Linnemar. Yeah, it was a rally of attrition, and you can tell that because then you can compare it to 2023, where Elfyn Evans won from Thierry Neuville by 39.1 seconds, Katsuta was third, 136.7 off, Teemu Syrjinen was 4th, 1 minute 41 off, and then you had Latvala in 5th, that time in a Rally 1 car, who was ahead of Solberg in 6th in the Rally 2, who was ahead of Päiväri, and then Adrian Fourmeau. Then you had Nikolai Gryasin and Andreas Mikkelsen. But again, it was another thing where you saw Itinerary retiring with engine, an accident for Esa-Pekka Lappi, and you had all kinds of various things afflicting different Rally 1 cars. So that then begs the question, who are the ones to watch? And I think we just need to start off by saying that Oliver Solberg's the one to watch in WRC2. I mean, Jari-Matti Latvala will give him a good run, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see the 2 of them battling and the 2 of them in the podium at the end of the event. But Solberg's been in fine form. I mean, he's just won the WRC in Estonia. I would think it would be very hard to bet against Oliver Solberg for this one. As for the WRC itself, I don't really know. Oid Tanak is in fine form. The Hyundais have done a lot of development for fast gravel rallies, so I wouldn't be surprised if Tanak wins. At the same time, Evans and Ogier have been competitive here in the past and both won here in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised if those 3 make up our podium. Now, you might be asking why I'm not including Carlo Rovanperä in that discussion. Part of that is because Rovanperä doesn't like the hand-cooked tyres. He's not adapting to life with them particularly well. He's not adapting to life of a hybridless Rally 1 particularly well either. But there is also the Rovanperä curse. They have not, father or son, won the Gravel Grand Prix. They've been fast. They've led. Heck, they've been leading late. Like I said, Rovanperä, I think, was leading going into the penultimate stage last year. But they just don't finish. And that can be mechanical stuff. It can be high-speed accidents. I think 2003, Harry Rovanperä went off at high speed in the Marlboro Peugeot into the trees. And actually, the spot where Rovanperä colour went off last year was the same where his father went off 20-odd years ago as well. That family has had rotten luck in the home event. So, whilst it may seem sensible to, you know, if you want to win, back a Finn, at the same time, they haven't been the luckiest around here, the leading Finns, in recent years. In fact, you could probably say Sami Päivärinta has had a more consistent run than Kalle Rovanperä in Rally Finland. I would say Katsuta can be a shoo-in for the podium, and I mean, he had great pace in Sweden earlier this year. I mean, he had greater pace in Sweden last year as well. That first win has got to come at some point for Taka, and realistically, the three best places for him are the Safari and his two home rallies, Finland and Japan. So, I'd like to see him run well here, and I think that's all I've got time for this video, because otherwise, this is going to be longer than WRC's own preview magazine. Let me know if you have any thoughts or feelings in the comment section down below, folks. Let me know if there's anybody that you want to keep an eye out for over the course of this event. And I hope to see you later this weekend, if not early next week, so I can give my thoughts and feelings and reflections for the end of the 1,000 Lakes. Till then, it's bye for now.